Okay, great. We are excited to be here. We've been online quite a bit. I was going to start off with a little bit of intro of Techstars. So I'm Curdy, and then TJ is somewhere on your screen. We'll run through what Techstars is, but what I would love to do afterwards, ask us any questions you have about the program. But we've been spending a lot of time online with entrepreneurs talking about the entrepreneurial environment right now. So whether that be fundraising, whether that be, just figuring out how to get through this time as an entrepreneur. So feel free, any questions, go. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And there are a couple things I want to start with. So first, oops, let's see here. Oh, I can't see up here. 1 second. I can't reach what I'm trying to reach. 1 sec here. Oh, there we go. Okay. We're going to share a little video, and if you have low bandwidth, you might want to turn off your video at this time.
This is a moment of unprecedented challenge. A moment that demands new ideas, new approaches, entirely new ways of thinking about the way we live and work and relate to each other, how we relate to the world and worlds beyond. What we need more than ever are entrepreneurs, from Birmingham to Bangalore and everywhere in between. This idea that you need to be in this or that place, have a PhD or be a coding genius, forget it. If you have an idea, a passion, grit and determination, an unyielding belief in what's possible, now is your time. And this is why we exist. To put founders first. To mentor them, connect them, inspire them. To give them everything they need to succeed. Not just because we love it, but because the world needs it. More than ever.
Anyway, that was just a fun way to kind of get going. Can everyone still hear me okay?
Yes.
Let me put you back. Okay, great. So I'll run through a couple of slides of introduction. By the way, that was a promo video that just came out about a month ago, and it was so timely with COVID going on, and we've had a lot of great comments around that. But let's see here. I'm not doing very well here, am I? Okay. All right, so I've introduced us. We'll talk a little bit about our backgrounds. So my background, I've been, if you're to weave a string through it, general management, strategy, marketing, the strategic side of marketing is my background. I have worked in management consulting. I've worked in startups with program manager title and biz dev title. I've been in 5-person companies. I've been in multi-1,000-person companies. Here in Iowa, I got my start at the Greater Des Moines Partnership, head of the Downtown Community Alliance. It was a great way to meet this community and get to know Iowa. I went over to Kemin Industries, and I was there for 9 years, and first was corporate VP, running marketing, sales, IT, HR, and some corporate functions. And then the second half of my time there, I did an entrepreneurial venture, which was to start the personal care ingredients business at Kemin. And that was a lot of fun. Still very friendly with the folks at Kemin. Decided to leave in 2015 and start my own small business. Advising small to mid-sized companies, so would sit on their boards effectively as an advisor, and would work with those companies to help them with their growth strategies. I also became an entrepreneur in residence at that time at the Ag Tech Accelerator here in Des Moines. And last year, when the managing director suddenly left for another job, I took over as the managing director of the Iowa Ag Tech Accelerator. Loved the work, still felt very firmly that that program needed an ag specific person. But when Techstars came along, and so we found the person for long term, and she's fantastic. And when Techstars came along, I thought, wow, this is fantastic. Here's a broad tech accelerator. Love this work, love working with startups, and it was a super opportunity. So I'll let TJ introduce himself.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Jay, I'm sitting here looking at this picture Curdy has up on me and echoing again the proof that I need a haircut very badly. I am a Eastern Iowa native. For those who are really familiar, I grew up in DeWitt, Iowa, which is just a little bit north of the Quad Cities. I am a UNI alum and followed a girl to the East Coast shortly after graduating. And that is where my wife and I got engaged and married, was out in the New York City area. I'm actually a teaching major, but fell into a early stage startup in the healthcare space shortly after seed round funding. Classic like Midwest work ethic helped me stand out to the CEO and developed a great relationship with him. That company was called Spremo Health, and we grew that from I joined, it was 10 people, and within 4 years, we were just close to 400 before that company exited in late, would have been 2017. And then I joined him at a second healthcare company before eventually moving back to the Iowa area about 2 years ago now. My background within those startups is very operational based, kind of behind the scenes, very process oriented, people management, around customer service, account management, as well as just general like scaling and kind of wearing tons of different hats, as some of you are probably very familiar when that happens. So after relocating to Iowa, I found a place with SmartAg up in Ames and was with them through their recent exit in November. And that was when I found this role with Techstars and connected with Curdy, and here we are. It's been, I think I started in January, so it's been 4 months. It feels kind of like 4 years just because of everything that's happened in between there, but it's been really exciting. And I think I was most excited about this role because of, I think, the community that I found here in Iowa around the startup entrepreneurial ecosystem. And I know it's going to be super successful. So that's a quick intro about me.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, TJ. Okay. This is not forward. Oh, there it goes. Okay, great. So just a little bit about Techstars overall globally. It was founded in 2006, really around the focus on helping entrepreneurs succeed across the world. It was a big vision, and it started with one accelerator in Boulder, Colorado, and we're now at 53 accelerators around the world. But it's not just about accelerators. Techstars also works with community programs, acquired a startup weekend, and put together Startup Week, which Jay, as you know, and I don't know, Grayson, if you've also run a startup weekend up in the Ames area. Have you done that before?
We did one several years ago, and then have since kind of adapted that model and combined it with a couple other models, and run a very similar program out of our entrepreneurship center. So we did an official startup weekend a couple of years ago, and then have kind of molded it into our own.
Awesome. And I think I was a judge at that one. I know that Jay runs Startup Weekend. I've had the pleasure of being a coach and mentor there as well. Really great program. And Startup Weekend is really meant to just be that spur And so what Ames has done with it, that's fantastic, right? The idea is to just grow the entrepreneurial community, have people thinking of ideas, how to bring them to understand maybe what they need to learn in order to bring those ideas to fruition. So that's the perfect place for someone who comes in and says, wow, I really think I should do this. Well, then go to a startup weekend, whatever form that takes, and test it. We also do the global accelerators, as I mentioned. And another initiative, which isn't on here, is a corporate initiative. So a lot of corporations have reached out to Techstars. And so we do work within corporations to help them with their innovation processes. So some corporations get stuck when the internal managers of the innovation process have other goals on mind. And so Techstars has been able to come in as a third party and really help innovation flow in its own little separate entity. And then the corporations can look at those as potential proof of concept opportunities and really decide whether they want to integrate them into the company or not. The other neat thing about Techstars is it's really Techstars for life. One of the things that TJ and I have witnessed so beautifully has been during COVID, immediately and the network just fired up. And there were all kinds of support groups put together for companies who were challenged and were looking for funds. So quickly putting together, hey, here are alternate forms of funds. Here are companies who are, or here are investors who are still looking for this kind of thing, but also sadly, some of those companies had to lay some people off. Well, that was fantastic talent. So Techstars was going to companies who happen to be in the industries where the wind is at their backs right now, such as telehealth and some of the other areas, and saying, hey, here's some great talent. Are you able to accommodate them in your team? So really, really great to see that network come to life, introductions being made, etc. So super company to be a part of. All right, so we're now, I mentioned at the number of accelerators, we have over 5,000 founders in the network, and every single number up here has a plus behind it because we're not stopping. So there's 6 accelerators going, 6 periods of accelerators going each year. TJ and I happen to be in term 5, or Techstars Iowa is in term 5, which means September, early September-ish to early December-ish. The programs that were running terms 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all gone virtual. So even though 4 starts in July, that has already been announced as virtual. We do not yet know if we are going to be virtual this year, but we'll be finding that out June 1st. But there are some amazing people in this network worldwide. These dots here represent all of the activity going on with Techstars, whether it's a Techstars weekend, community activity, corporate activity, accelerators, but you can just see there's a huge reach across the world. I would say maybe we have to do some work in Siberia, but that's about it. We're partnered here. We're here because of Grinnell College. JT Thayer, who is the Chief Investment Officer at Grinnell College, really fantastic guy. I really give a lot of credit to him. He's managing a nearly $2 billion endowment, and this is a very, very small investment if you think about their entire endowment. But he said it's a very meaningful investment. We want to invest in entrepreneurs. We want something to be here in Iowa. We want to help this ecosystem. This ecosystem has been building. It's a fantastic ecosystem, but we, Grinnell College, have a place to play, and this is the place where we want to really help entrepreneurs come into the fold. Immediately, JT reached out and said, I would love to have University of Iowa and Iowa State in here as well. And so they've come on as affiliate partners, and I'll talk more about what that looks like in a second. But a couple more reasons why Grinnell came in. They wanted to obviously elevate the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Iowa. They also wanted to find opportunities for students. So if students want to go into startups, if they want to understand more about startups, so we're putting together a internship pool with all of the partners and actually beyond of college students who are interested in getting involved with startups. So that's something that we're really, really excited about. The Grinnell community, alumni, mentors have been incredible. Many of them are investors themselves. Others are experts in certain verticals, and so we brought them into the fold. And one of the things JT brings us, which is so great, you know, their fund or their endowment, they are an LP in many venture capital funds across the US and across the world. And so his perspective, as I bring in startups, maybe at, you know, a different level, very early stage, but I really, really appreciate his perspective. And also he's just opened so many doors and connections and said, you need to talk to these people, you need to talk to these people. And it's been fantastic. So Iowa, University of Iowa and Iowa State University, also amazing partners. Judy was on for the coffee. Lynn Allendorf from University of Iowa is also who comes to our regular biweekly calls. What we've been doing there is really trying to integrate those communities in as well. So again, I mentioned that intern pool. We're also looking for alumni who have ideas and who have businesses that they've started up and now would love to go through the accelerator. We are recruiting heavily in Iowa. Every Iowa company gets an interview from us. So we know that there aren't, you know, hundreds and hundreds of companies coming in, but any company applying from Iowa that really is a venture style company, we're going to be interviewing them. So we're really excited. And I will say there have been some great candidates coming through the pipeline. So we hope that continues. The communities have been incredible. Grayson, I've been a judge up at the startup weekend up in Iowa City, or up in Ames. I've, you know, jumped in on a lot of student activity, been to some classrooms, done lectures. It's really, really fun to get in front of entrepreneurial groups. So keep going. All right. So of the accelerator portfolio, 86% are active or have been acquired. The total funding has been about 9.3 billion and our portfolio market cap is about 27 billion. We have been in the #1 position by volume per Crunchbase for many years. This is that mission, right? So it's not that we have to, I mean, obviously we want all of our companies to succeed, and we're looking for great founders who we know can work to put themselves in a position to succeed. But we're not, you know, looking for those cutthroat, I want to be the biggest ever kind of companies. We're looking for companies who are just really, really driven, passionate about the markets they're in. And so it's a very, very broad reach, and we're really proud of that. The accelerators themselves are 3 months of very intensive programming, basically cramming 2 years of work into 13 weeks. The founders who come out of it are exhausted but exhilarated. Every week we're going through their KPIs. We are, you know, making sure they're moving, they're going. And it's intense. So I'll just leave it at that. What do we look for? We look for 6 different areas. Team, or 1, 2, and 3. So finding great founders, what does that mean? The founders are, they have tenacity, they have grit, they're resilient. They also are coachable, they are open-minded, they value diversity of all kinds, thought, you know, ideas, backgrounds, whatever that happens to be. They work well with others. They know their markets. So it's really hard to work with a team who could be amazing on all fronts, but they don't really know the market they're in. They just think, wow, this is interesting. This is a problem I want to solve. That's a big bridge to cross right there. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's great when someone who comes in and says, I've been in this market. I have felt this problem. I know what this is. Here's how we need to solve it. That's a really good connection. Traction and progress is one of the things we look for. It does not need to mean sales. what it means is they've got something out there. It's a prototype, it's an MVP, it's something that we can grab onto and say, okay, here's our baseline. Now let's see what kind of traction can grow from there. But there needs to be some kind of baseline already so we can see what they've got. And the last is idea, because so many ideas pivot during classes. I've heard that from so many of my MD colleagues that, you know, this person came in, they thought this was the way to solve the problem, but actually another way was the way to solve the problem. And they figured that out during the accelerator. This is, you know, kind of a typical experience. So during a week, there'll be office hours, there'll be one-on-ones, there'll be all hands meetings, there'll be workshops, there'll be founder stories. There's a lot of work, get out there, make customer calls, build. Support from other CXOs throughout the ecosystem, customer development, figuring out product market fit, team building, business model testing, etc. Investor meetings. So it's broken really into 3 parts. The first part is really finding those mentors and figuring out the ecosystem of who can help me the most with my startup. And then the middle portion is really around that learn, build, go try something, come back, figure out if it worked, go out there, do it again. And then the third portion is really around getting ready for that next level, whether it be VC investment, a partnership in industry, whatever it happens to be. And we work with each founder to make sure that we're finding the right match for them, their culture, their growth anticipated, et cetera. And then within the investor side, finding the right investors. So someone who is in a B2C market space should not be in front of a B2B SaaS only investor, right? So just finding the right matches for who are the right investors to talk to. So the deal is up to $120,000 of funding, 6% equity, and that is not a valuation event. So 6% equity is for Techstars for life, and it is common stock, and it goes straight to the cap table. We are effectively co-founders with the founder themselves. So this is an advisory group for life, and for that, it's 6%. The 100K is an optional convertible note, and that's typically done at market. So if the startup has already raised some amount of money, or they have an open convertible note, then Techstars just comes in at what that open convertible note is. And we have some amazing partners around the world. So reduced legal fees, reduced hosting fees, some during the program, some freebies across the board in AWS, Microsoft, et cetera. So some great perks that kind of follow on even after the program. The timeline, so apps close for our first program, our inaugural program, on May 10th. And the program starts on September 8th and goes until December 3rd. So I'll just go back to that comment I made earlier. We will not know if it's going to be virtual until June 1st. It may be that Governor Reynolds decides that Iowa's open for business, but it also may be that maybe different cities have different stipulations, so we need to pay attention to those. And then Techstars may also say, you know what, we know how to run virtual events. Why do you need to bring so many people together from different parts of the world or country for that matter, if we can do a lot of this virtually? So that'll be TBD, but Techstars knows how to run virtual programs equally to in-person programs. As I said, all of our earlier programs flipped. The first and second terms flipped over a weekend and seamlessly. We have 4 programs that run virtually anyway. They just happen to be virtual programs. And so it's not something that we're worried about. TJ and I will have to work a little bit harder to make natural interactions occur. So if you're all sitting together in a co-working space, you know, these conversations between CEOs of companies take place at the kitchen. Well, we need to now make sure that those take place because we're talking to them every week on one-on-ones. We're going through all of their KPIs. If we see that, ooh, this person really should talk to that person, they're going to learn a lot from each other, we'll make that match. So that's just an example of what we do. But once the applications close on May 10th, screening committee is on June 9th and 10th. So no offers would even go out until we know if it's a virtual or in-person program anyway, so the companies can decide. I think that may be it. Yeah, so here's just our contact information if anyone wants it. And then I'll leave it there for a second and then I will stop sharing my screen. All right. So, you know, as I said, any questions go. Questions about Techstars are fair game. Questions about anything going on that we've been tapped into the entrepreneurial community across the globe. So, yeah.
Hey, Curdy, can you hear me? This is Steve Baker calling.
Yes, loud and clear now.
Wow, look at that. Technology, who'd imagine? So I think everybody's got a really good understanding of how the virtual Techstars could work. Let's assume that everything is going to get back to normal-ish, and it is not virtual. Can you talk about residency restrictions, requirements, and kind of how a day might look for a non-virtual cohort?
Great question. Great question. So in a in-person cohort, we ask that everyone is local for a majority of the program. When I say a majority, here are the main parts that being in person is going to get better value than any other format. Is if we're doing mentor madness and the mentor connections during in person, then absolutely those connections are going to be closer then. So for the first 3 weeks for orientation for sure, which is the first week, plus another 2.5 weeks of mentor meetings, that would be ideal to be in person. After that, you know, we're asking each company to go out and get a lot of traction going, right? Well, some of those companies are global or even national, looking at customers nationally. They're going to be on the road. They're going to be talking to companies in other places. So we anticipate there will be some travel in that middle section. However, we do ask that everyone attends the meetings that we hold each week. So you need to work that into your program wherever that is. And those can be attended virtually. But if we're doing education sessions, we're bringing in VIP speakers, we're bringing in people, we're doing community events within our small community, like founders stories and evenings together where we get to know each other. We still ask the people who might be on the road to be part of that because it really is important to have that class be committed to each other. And then the final third, we're doing introductions to investors. And again, if we can do that in person and a connection can be made one-on-one, that's great. But some of the investors aren't here. So some of them are going to be virtual anyway. But when we're doing pitch practice and when we're doing face-to-face investors toward the end, that would be a great time to be here. One decision has been made across the board is that demo day is going to be virtual for our program. That does not mean we can't hold a local community event as well. It would just be probably a smaller event, but something within the co-working space. And we could even do one, you know, maybe in Iowa City, one in Ames, depending on, maybe we do them through 1 Million Cups, would be awesome, right? Kind of a little mini demo day, which would be great. The reason for that is we had to go virtual and our demo days have been averaging 1,500 attendance. So it's better for our founders. I mean, if we haven't already found an investor who's perfect for them, now the whole world gets to see that potential idea and that founder, and they may be getting calls and investment customers, who knows, from all over the world. So we want to continue virtual demo days.
Yeah. That is beautiful. Thank you. I hope it's an in-person thing for you. response for Techstars.
I do too.
Sounds like a lot of fun personally, but
Yeah, that's great. Someone wrote, Paul wrote, can you talk about a couple success stories, how Techstars are organized and where it's headquartered? Okay, three questions there. All right. Many success stories. So the market value of 27 billion hopefully speaks to a lot of success stories. I would say, virtually majority of the companies are seeing an average, or I should say an average of $1 million investments after program. So that's going to be, even for companies who are not, say, unicorn companies, but are nice size growing companies, they're getting funding after the program, of what it makes sense. Maybe it's an industry investment, maybe it's VC, maybe it's angel money. We don't, there are a whole bunch of different avenues. So many success stories with Techstars. The organization is, all the accelerators are run by managing directors and program managers. So we really, even though there's a format, so we'll follow kind of the playbook of what Techstars provides us in terms of the education, in terms of the milestones, the things that we need to accomplish, but there's always room for localization. So for example, if TJ and I say, well, we'd like to do a little bit of, get around the state and get to know people, we can do that. We don't have to do, exactly what Boulder does, which is everything is done in their facility in Boulder. So there's some group there. And then, oh, thanks, TJ. TJ just sent out the portfolio of Techstars.com. And the headquarters is Boulder, Colorado. So, yeah.
And that site will highlight like a couple of, like the current unicorns, I guess, that are more common, which would be like SendGrid or ClassPass. For those who are familiar, I think ClassPass was the first unicorn this year. One of my favorites that I learned through my training was for those Star Wars fans out there, the robot and the newer ones, BB-8, is from a company called Sphero. And Sphero was actually a Techstars alum through the Disney program in Orlando. And so right after the program, Disney wrote them a $100 million check to license that robot in the new Star Wars series. So that was kind of cool.
Good call outs. That's great. Yeah. And I was going to say ClassPass might be struggling a little bit right now, TJ.
Yeah, maybe. Well,
I do know that they're trying to do virtual as well, but yeah. So, okay. Any other questions?
What are some challenges you guys have maybe weren't predicting but have faced aside from the current pandemic, in recruiting, whether it's Iowa companies or Midwest companies, or something that, you didn't expect that you have been dealing with for the last few months? And it can be a challenge, or it can be a positive. I guess we could take both sides of it. So, what you came into expecting and what is reality of what you've learned over the last few months.
Yeah. Well, so I think my expectations have been exceeded. I'm pretty excited about the interest we've been getting, like really excited. And especially from companies in Iowa and the Midwest. Very impressive, big thinking, hit it out of the ballpark companies. I think it's hard to divorce, because my entire recruiting period, applications open on February 17th. So the majority of our recruiting has been during COVID. So it's really hard to divorce COVID from this. The last event I went to in person was on March 3rd in San Francisco. It was a pitch competition for SoGal, which is a majority female and minority companies from around the world pitched. And that has been the ability to not go out and just see some diversity at some of these events and make those connections. That's been a little disappointing during recruiting. From March, basically from that event on, every meeting I've taken has been online. I've got office hours, 11 today after we get off this call. And this week in particular is extremely busy, but there are 11 the next day. And then there are a bunch I even opened up Saturday because people just wanted to talk before, and my office hours are open. I meet with anyone who wants to talk about Techstars Iowa and wants to share what their company is. So that's been something that I really have been adamant about, keeping those hours open. Grace and my expectations have been exceeded. So I don't know if TJ wants to add anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would just allude, and I'm dropping a link in the chat again for the thing that really, I guess, when I first started and heard a lot about like the Techstars network and the real community there is around, I'll be frank, like I thought, okay, yeah, sure, this is just what I'm hearing at, kind of my initial new employee training. But to Curdy's point, I mean, I went through training in January. We were already talking about the effects of it with our colleagues in Asia, and seeing the response from Techstars through this, and that link, techstars.com/COVID, can really be another testament to kind of all of the resources that everybody through the 300 employees at Techstars, from the original founders and David Cohen, David Brown, Brad Feld, are just like spewing information out and looking to connect any entrepreneur out there with somebody to help any question they have, whether it's around laying employees off, fundraising, anything. So that's really just exceeded my expectation. And the other thing that kind of surprised me too is just the community, like within the organization, is just like filled with like other former entrepreneurs who, in my perspective, can be kind of hard to wrangle down in like a larger corporation. But Techstars does a really good job of just like kind of giving you guardrails, if you will, of like, do this, don't do this, and then do whatever you want in between. And so Curdy and I have had a lot of fun like getting this off the ground, and seeing the community response has been very heartwarming, and I'm just excited, and fingers crossed we get to do it in person. So
yeah, that's great.
Any other questions from our audience?
I can't. A lot of people are off video. Oh, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Is there either upper and lower limits to the size of the organizations you deal with?
Good question. No, there aren't. So we'll say we're stage agnostic, but here is maybe the sweet spot. It is great to have at least a couple founders, just because the accelerator work is so intense. A solo founder has a really hard time. That doesn't mean they can't go through it, but if they do come in as a solo founder, they will need to have a support network, maybe a group of advisors, or even if they're outsourced, employees who are of the caliber that they can take on some of the work that needs to be done. And then on the upper side, certainly the, if a company, I talked to a company the other day, they're already at 6 million ARR, but they're doing a major pivot right now. They have 11 employees. They're on the cusp, right? So, they could come in here, but most of the companies are earlier stage than that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Question from the Facebook feed. Someone's wanting to know, how can you watch Techstars events virtually?
Good question. Okay. TJ, do we have a link for that?
yes,
Okay,
stand by, folks. 1 second.
So if you post it in here, Liz or someone, if you're able to make sure that does it go auto to Facebook?
They don't see the chat here, but I can copy and paste it over. So
Great, thank you. Yeah, if you can paste over those other links, that would be great too.
I think Jay has.
Yeah,
or
Okay.
I've been following
Super.
along.
Yeah, no, that's great. Good. And there are more coming up. Actually, tonight, my good friend Isaac in Seattle is holding his demo day. So I've told him I'm going to tune in. He's a business school classmate of mine and actually is partially responsible for me being here, because when the managing director of this kind of Midwest and West said, I'm looking for someone in Iowa, Isaac said, I know one person in Iowa and you need to call her. So anyway, so Seattle is on tonight if you want to see some cool companies. They recruit primarily from the Seattle area and really grow that ecosystem there, but feel free to tune in.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kind of as we're go ahead if anyone has
Sorry,
any
Jay,
questions.
one other thing
Sure.
I'll add really quickly around Techstars events. The /COVID site is a great one to share and kind of follow along with. And then the latest one there, the crowdcast.io, is where Techstars hosts like weekly, we call them AMAs, so Ask Me Anything. So there's usually a handful of speakers, and then you can kind of like chat in any questions around a variety of topics. Some of them will be specific to a program. One of our founders, David Cohen, I think does a weekly one, usually around fundraising. That's kind of his niche that a lot of people pester him with questions about. So those would be the best resources. And then also like selfless plug of follow Curdy and I on connect with us on LinkedIn. And we usually try to promote stuff as we see it come out internally. So
that's right. On the recordings are there too, right, TJ?
They are, yeah. So you can see a history of past events where they'll have recordings, and there's one in there that we did earlier. I guess it was last month now, but we, that can have more specific questions around our program, and also you'll hear from our partners from Grinnell, Iowa, and Iowa State.